Hello guys, welcome to Ferdinand Tutorials. In this video, we'll be looking at research areas in biochemistry. As an undergrad or a graduate level, it is expected that we have what we call a research interest. So this video will help you to understand more of what we are looking at in research interest, so you know what your research interest is more like. So I will explain everything concerning the research areas in biochemistry using this particular template. Now, when we're talking about research areas in biochemistry, the first thing we need to understand is that we have an area called fundamental biochemistry. Now, in this fundamental biochemistry, we begin to look at the protein structure and function. We're going to look at enzyme kinetics and mechanism, metabolic pathways, nucleic acids, and gene expression. I will take them one after the other. Now, when we're talking about protein structure and function, in this particular topic, this is where we begin to research on the structure of protein, the functions of protein. Remember, when we're talking about protein, we say that, protein, the structure affects the function. And when we begin to look at the structures of protein, we begin to see that we have primary structure, have secondary structure, have tertiary, and then we have what? Quaternary structure. So that means the structure of protein have a way of affecting the function. And that's when we begin to look at, denaturation. When we say that we use heat to affect the structure of protein, thereby altering the function. I don't know if you are with me. So in this protein structure and function, what we are focused on is we're going to look at how is it that a protein structure affects the function. It's a research area that a biochemistry student can actually focus on. We also have enzyme kinetics and mechanism. When we're looking at enzyme kinetics and mechanism, the reactions of enzyme in the body, how does the activity of enzyme affect the normal concentration or the normal metabolism of an individual? Remember, when we talked about enzyme, we said that we have 6 classifications of enzyme. When we say we have what we call OTH, LIL. When we say that O is for oxidoreductases, T is transferases, H is hydrolysis, L is lyases, I is isomerases, this second L is ligases. Now, when we're talking about all these enzyme kinetics and mechanism, we are generally focused on the reactions of this enzyme, the activities of this enzyme, how it affects the human body, how it affects the metabolism. So as a biochemistry young researcher who wants to maybe provide something to the society, provide a solution to some problem, you can decide on saying, okay, my research interest, I want it to be focused on enzyme kinetics and mechanism. In that way, what you are trying to do is that you want to say, okay, I want to look for new enzymes that affect human body. I want to look for enzyme that makes this particular food to go this way. Trying to discover new thing, not the one that has already been discovered. That is what we are looking at in this enzyme kinetics and mechanism. Now, we also have metabolic pathways. Of course, in biochemistry, we can't talk about biochemistry without metabolic pathways. In metabolic pathways, we are looking at, the glycolytic pathway. We are looking at the hexose monophosphate shunt. We are looking at the tricarboxylic acid cycle. There are a whole lot of pathways. Now, in this particular, research area, metabolic pathway, we are trying to look at, a new thing from the pathway that have not been seen. Maybe why we usually start with a particular molecule and end with another. Maybe why the reaction happens, have 12 steps or 6 steps. Trying to get a new thing that has not been discovered. Are we together? That's what we're looking at in these metabolic pathways. What are the pathways? What are the processes that we follow in the reaction in the human body? Now, we also look at nucleic acids and gene expression. In one of my videos recently, uploaded on what we call nucleic acid, we'll begin to look at our DNA and then our RNA. Now, in nucleic acids and gene expression, what we are focused on, we are trying to research on, okay, how is it that genes are expressed in the body? Are we together? We're looking at the expressions of gene. Does it pass from parents to offspring? Why is it that an individual can decide to behave this way? Why the parents behave this way? What is the role of DNA and RNA in gene expression? That is the research we focus on in this particular place. Now, the number 2 here is molecular biology. Now, in molecular biology, we are looking at gene regulation. We're also talking about how genes are regulated in the body. You understand? So you can decide to choose your research area as gene regulation, or under molecular biology, choose molecular genetics. Now, in molecular genetics also, we're talking about how genes are transferred from parents to what? Offspring. Are we together? So what are the vital importance? What are the important molecules that helps in the transmission of this character from parents to offspring? Now we begin to look at recombinant DNA technology. Recombinant DNA technology, someone can wake up one day and say, okay, I want to discover a new technology that I will use to manipulate DNA. Are we together? So trying to discover new things that will help us manipulate DNA, we call it what? Recombinant DNA technology. Are we there now? New discovery that will help us artificially manipulate DNA, artificially control DNA, artificially try to, affect the activities of DNA as opposed to the natural way. Call it what? Recombinant DNA technology. Now we have genomics and proteomics. For instance, genomics, if you look at my CV, I don't know if any of you have watched my video. I know many of you have not. So if you've not watched that video on my CV, how I, explain my CV preparation, do well to go and watch it. In that particular video, I mentioned my research interest. And one of my research interests there was genomics. Now, in genomics, I want you to understand something. When we're looking at genomics, genomics is a branch of molecular biology that studies about the structure, the function of what? Of a genome. Are we there now? The structure, the function of what? Of a genome. Proteomics, we are looking at the structure, function of a proteome. Are we there now? Proteome. So now that is that. Now to the number next division here we have biochemistry of health and diseases. So biochemistry of health and diseases, we're going to look at cancer biology is one of my research interests. So we say that cancer biology, and cancer biology, what we're focused on is we're looking at the biology of cancer, the development, the progression, the causative agents of this particular disease called what? Called cancer. That's cancer biology. Neurobiology, we're looking at the activities of neurons, the diseases that affects the brain. Some of them we call neurodegenerative diseases. Are we together? So that is in neurobiology. Immunology, we're looking at the immune system, how it fights against chemical substance, how it fights against diseases. When we begin to have antibodies and antigens. Antibodies and what? Antigens. Are we there now? So these are the two things we are looking at in immunology. And then pharmacology, we are looking at development of drugs. Are we there? We're looking at development of drugs, maybe to kill this disease, neurodegenerative disease, to kill cancer, to fight against them. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. Now, virology, we're looking at study of viruses. Are we there? Their introduction into the body, their activities, their replication and all. That's virology. So if you look at this research interest, I gave you three divisions: fundamental biochemistry, molecular biology, and biochemistry of health and diseases. So under this division, I have subdivisions. So you can decide to look at each of them and try to choose a research interest in any of these. Are we together? It will help you to understand more, of what we're talking about in biochemistry. Biochemistry is not just, a course where you go and then you cram substance and then go and write in the exam. There is more to biochemistry than you know. So I would like you to try and look at, this research interest. Look at the one that, interests you and start studying, start taking it more serious. And I believe, the world will be a better place because someone like you studied biochemistry. See you again in my next video. Bye for now.